Welcome to another episode of So It's Not Just Me, the podcast where we talk about how everyday things and our life events affect our mental health and our well-being. Today we are talking to Emma, and we're going to be talking about women in construction and women in male-dominant roles, full stop, because throughout all of my life I've been working in environments that are predominantly male, and now more and more women are getting involved and getting out there. It's a really good topic for us to talk about and to understand a bit better. So with that, Emma, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do? Obviously I know, but for everybody else.
At the moment, I have a landscaping firm and also we deliver aggregates to landscapers, ground workers, construction builders, basically anything to do with construction, basically. So all the type of materials.
And have you always wanted to be in construction?
It's, I think it just fell into this personality. I'm pretty much an outdoors person, always been in muck, but I've had an opportunity to get into construction more is because my dad. So we pretty much spent every weekend with my dad on construction building sites. So it gave me a bit more of I'd say, an advantage from starting with my dad at such a young age to be able to do well in construction because I had a bit more of a clear understanding of it. And when you do go into jobs that are to do with that, it it does get you a little bit further because you actually sort of know what you're talking about and what kind of environments you're going to be working in.
Yeah. When I first started working in construction, it was for similar reasons. Obviously, I'm not in construction now, but when I did, mine was because of my dad as well, and I always looked up to my dad and looked up to the hard work he does because construction's a really hard job. Nobody
Hmm.
realizes, well, everyone realizes, but they don't understand how hard construction actually is. So I always looked up to my dad, and when I first got into construction was like 20 years ago now, I think it was seen as, oh, you're in construction, you must work in the office, you must
Hmm.
be on reception. That's the kind of thing I always got until like I started going on sites and I noticed people talk to me different. But did you ever notice that?
Yeah, so I still get it now. So being even doing the truck driving and delivering to construction sites and stuff like that, and being the landscaping firm, obviously it was my job to basically make sure everything ran. I was on site as well, and the shock was unbelievable. It still is today. Even today, because I've basically finished it just after 4. So even today, it's a shock to the system, the fact that a woman is actually turning up and doing the actual job itself. So every single day, you're still getting a what you doing here kind of thing. So it's still a shock for people that women are actually on site and not just at the end of the phone.
Yeah. Do you make a joke about it with them? Or how do you handle
Massively,
it when
yeah.
someone says,
I'm just I will literally take it on chin. I'm not bothered. I like it. It's you know to shock people that you are doing it, and to sort of take people out of the box of women not doing it is a fun thing for me anyway. So I do enjoy doing that and having a bit of a laugh and a joke with people and things like that. So I've not come up with many people that aren't sort of happy to see it. It's not a shock as in what the hell are you doing it? It's a shock of, oh, well, that's nice to see. That's a breath of fresh air. And oh, it's nice to see a smiling face. It's more to the fact of it's something different for them. So I don't often get negative responses. So for me to be able to just say, oh, yeah, yeah, I am here, you know what I mean? I understand that you don't expect me to be, you know what I mean, turning up. So it is a light-hearted scenario. And I've been in construction, well, you know yourself, I've been in construction all my life from being a kid. The first job I basically had was basically working with my dad, even just cleaning cabins and all that kind of stuff. Then went on to doing college in a building college. We had two, there were me and another girl in a 60 plus construction. It was, oh God, that's that how long ago it is. BSc in construction, so it was the first college. There were 60 lads in our class, two girls, and that's how we went on. After that, it was university to do quantity surveying. You know what I mean? There were two girls again, actually, in a massive, massive university course. So very, very small minority of people. So you had to either get on and just, you know what I mean, be lighthearted about it, or, you know, just get a bad response from people, really.
Yeah. I found that um, when we worked in the office together for a little while at the quantity surveying. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that because I obviously same as you, we had the bit of the background from our dads, um,
Hmm.
and then I feel like the extra knowledge we got helps with everything. Then, like even just work on the house, or when you need
Hmm.
to have somebody out to come and help you, having that extra knowledge is so useful. And I really do think that more people should just be I kind of believe in like a college system or school system that helps people learn everyday stuff. And I think that we have that good insight, knowing that learning the extra stuff about the building never actually, whether you actually go in and do anything with it or not, but knowing that extra stuff really helps.
Well, it's
Do you know
like
what I mean?
I think women have been put in a bracket of you don't need to know that. You're always going to have somebody else
Yes.
to do that. And that's not just something that you really need to learn, kind of thing. Which I think even in our society now, I think that's not quite just directed at women. It's directed at a whole society. That somebody else is going to do that for me. But even just learning that something might break and it might be just a fuse. Simple things like that that are classed as an electrician's job to deal with. You then throw that item
Yeah.
away when it could just be a 13 amp fuse. I learned that going through, you know what I mean, through the building industries and stuff like that. As simple as that. So it is a massive, massive thing. It's like well, I don't know if you can see, but I'm currently building my own house. So you can, that's where, that's as far as my building experience has basically taken me. I've managed to get to a point of where I'm not only pricing everything up, I'm getting involved in the actual build itself, and I'll be overseeing the whole construction of the actual building. And I'll be talking to every single trade that comes from the first time I make contact with them to the point of being on site, to the point of where they leave and they get paid. So for me, being in the construction industry has made it possible for me to not only afford to do the build, but be able to actually get involved and make sure that it runs how I want it to run. You know what I mean? So it's been a massive, massive thing for me. 100%.
No, that's really cool. That's really cool. Like seeing the full big picture. I knew you
Yeah.
was building your house. I didn't know you was going to be getting so involved with everything along the
I'm literally
way.
living on site. So yeah.
Oh, that would
Yeah.
drive me insane. I'd be
Yeah.
like
Well,
doing it
we
all
live in a
hours of the
quite
day.
nice.
Just one
Yeah.
person.
It's one of them things where I've been an outdoors person again, where I've sort of fallen into the construction industry side, being an outdoors person all my life. Well, we're doing the interview literally outside. So it's one of them things. It's not for everybody. It's not even for not just women. It is also for the men's side of it. It's not for everybody, you know, doing the things that we've basically done. I think you have got to be a sort of type of person, and especially because women are not really driven into that, even at a young age. You never get used to that. So then to be able to sort of come out of that bracket at an older age when you're old enough to make your own decisions, old enough to make your own career choices, to then say, oh, actually, that's something I really fancy. If you've never experienced that kind of environment, I think you would find it very, very difficult just to say, oh, I'm going to try something different. Well,
Yeah.
we've worked together. We've seen how difficult it can be sometimes to even just be I don't know, ask the question or even being asked to get involved. It's a bit of a shock to the system when you actually speak up and and know what you're on about and stuff like that. So we had the advantage of being able to do that, but that's from our fathers, our dads. So again,
Yeah.
it's a very, very fine line and how successful you're going to be in the construction industry as a woman.
I found as well sometimes, again, being, I don't know if it's just being a woman or being not as experienced at the time, but my answers weren't really important. It
Mm.
was, even if a guy said the same answer as I did, that would be more important or taken on board more than mine was.
I think you
Again, I
do
don't know if
have to
that's,
sorry. I think you do have to explain yourself more, and it is right. You are correct. And like I say, I'm 35 now. I've been in construction industry over 20 years. You know what I mean? Even just you can say that even my younger years. And still now I'm having to really you do have to explain yourself, expand on the actual opinion that you've got to make sure that they understand that you're not just saying something, you understand what you're actually saying for them to take it on board.
yes.
And I even get that with my dad. You know what I mean? I work alongside my dad, actually building houses with him. And even he has to take a step back and go, is that right? Is she actually coming up with a good idea? And sometimes it has to get to a point of where he's not done what I've said, and he's like, actually, yeah, that could have worked. You know, that kind of thing. So it's still one of those scenarios where I think maybe it's because I'm his daughter, but I do feel like it is something.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. And especially knowing your dad, I can see him doing that. So that's funny. Do you ever get, obviously you work with your partner. So when you're
Hmm.
out and about with Dion, do people talk to Dion, or
Yes.
like the same kind of thing with your dad? Will they talk to you or will they wait for Dion?
I think the only advantage I've got is they've already spoken to me on the phone. So initially they will ring up and ask, um, and I'll answer the phone, and they'll ask for Dion. And I'd be like, what's it for? Can I just ask what it's for first? Because I'm not sure what you need. And then they'll start to talk about something and still expect to speak to Dion. And I'll be like, well, it's me that you need to actually speak to. So I can basically discuss all them situations, which obviously running my landscaping firm, that's again another shock to the system, but I was getting it quite often. Yeah.
Does it ever get frustrating for you? Because I know that you're quite a light-hearted person, but do you get frustrated sometimes?
I do. To a certain degree, but because it's a snap-like decision to say, actually, she's the one that I need to speak to. Um, Again, like you've noted, I am quite a light-hearted person. I probably enjoy the shock a little bit. I don't know. It's like a little weird thing to say, yeah, I am, and I'll make a bit of a joke out of it. Um, it does get frustrating after you've already. I think the more the frustration is, I understand it's the understanding. That's the reason why I'm not getting annoyed. I understand that it's not normal for me to basically be the person that they're going to be contacting. I'm the one that's basically going to go through the job. I'm actually going to turn up to the job and do the work as well with them, the physical work at the same time. So I understand that there is still shock. So it's more the understanding. I'm not going to get annoyed from somebody just not understanding. I think the only frustration I get is after the fact and they still question. That's the only time I'll get frustrated is the fact that they just won't listen, even though I'm the one that's basically going to be dealing with the situation. That's the only reason why I would ever get frustrated is even after I've proven that I know what I'm on about and they're still not listening.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. I know a lot of the time now, um, after I finished at the construction industry, I went into the car industry, which again is quite a male dominated.
Another hard one.
Um,
Yeah, another hard one.
yeah, I think I'm just a glutton for punishment sometimes. But now, whenever we do
Like
anything,
a
whether it is
challenge.
construction, I like a challenge. Whether it's construction or car related, Kyle will always say, "Don't ask me, ask Joanna. Joanna's the person who you need to ask for this," and he'll do
Yeah,
that to everyone. Like
yeah,
if his dad does building, like as a hobby, he does building stuff, and he'll say, "Oh, he'll tell Kyle about what he's building," and Kyle is always interested, but he always says, tell Joanna. Joanna will understand what you're doing. I'm interested, but Joanna will understand it. And if
Yeah,
there's a car problem, hey Joanna, how can we fix this? I'm not a mechanic. I'm not anything like that, but I like to learn. So,
yeah,
that's part of the challenge, I think. And I think that's something you may have experienced this or not, but we have to learn so much more. Like
yeah,
every in and out of every detail to
yeah.
prove that we know what we're doing.
You've got to guarantee that you know what you're on about before you open your mouth,
Yeah.
basically. Because if not,
Yeah.
then your whole sort of, I don't know, even just reputation can, the first initial meeting with somebody can completely be, she's no idea what she's on about. If you
Yeah.
go in uneducated on the topic that you're talking about. That's the reason why I've probably got so deep into it, is because I know how important a first impression is when you're talking to professionals. You know what I mean? 50, 60, 70-year-old men who have been in the industry a long, long time, who will just, like you said, talk to somebody rather than talking to you, even though you're the main person on site. So I do,
Yes.
it is a thing where you definitely do have to expand on your opinion on a certain topic, basically, especially in
Yeah.
construction and mechanics, because I do a lot of so I've got my own trucks and stuff like that. I've got my own wagons and lorries. Um, my other half doesn't like talking on the phone, or he's just not got time. So it's always pretty much me that's having to have conversation with people like the mechanics who work on our trucks, or and it's one of them things where I have to I get it explained before I go on the phone to be able to talk to him. Um, but yeah, it's not the easiest of things to do, and it does take up your time when you think to yourself, oh, should I get someone else to talk about it? You know, that kind of, should I get Dion to ring him and stuff like that? But yeah, it's one of the things. But I think that it's like what you said with Kyle. He he'll basically shy away from something he doesn't know. So,
Yes.
which, you know what I mean? That's fair enough. You're not supposed to know absolutely everything, especially
No.
in people categorize construction and car industry as very, very simple, industries, but it's massive. It's so complicated. You know what I mean? Like you said, people don't appreciate how difficult it is being a part of the construction industry. It's vast. It's absolutely vast.
I think it's science as well. Like if you don't use the right chemical formulas to mix things together, if you don't use the right angles, your
Hmm.
walls falling down. It's all science and math. So
Yeah.
you you can't be completely dumb to do these jobs. You have to,
No,
you
definitely
have
not.
to
You've
learn.
definitely got to have some kind of education to be able to understand things, because it is from the ground up, even just understanding ground conditions. For the first instance of even buying
Mhm.
a plot of land to construct anything on, you've got to understand ground conditions. And I think,
Yeah.
again, through my dad being the ground worker, um, it's been a massive thing for me to be able to go, that's not okay, that's not right, and this is the thing. And then they ask, oh, how do you know about that? But again, it's basically, I've been lucky enough to have my dad be able to just not push me into it, probably not encourage it into a certain degree, because his construction firm needed a quantity surveyor. His daughter's basically out, just about going to college. Let's get a family member into the business. So it's more the fact of not a you go girl kind of thing. It was more the fact of, I need a quantity surveyor, get yourself in there scenario.
Yeah.
Um, Unbeknown to him, he's basically pushed me into a full career. Um, but yeah, I have found that it is a vast thing, which you know yourself, with the industry that
Yeah.
we basically were both in, the quantity surveying. We
Yeah.
were quantity surveying from small extensions, maybe only 10 to 20 square meters, to full renovations and extensions to hospitals, or new build hospitals, or new build colleges and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it weren't the easiest things of to do, and it was basically your quantities, your calculations, and your work would determine whether or not a building firm actually made any money or was successful on that project or even won that project. So the pressure was massive. Not
Oh, it's
just
huge pressure.
doing it as a woman, but doing it as an actual job itself.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to apologize right now. I don't know if it's gone a little bit dark in here. If it has, let me know. Um, there's a storm coming, and it's just pelted it down with rain. So if I break up, that is why I'm very, very sorry.
No,
Um,
it's all
but
right.
it's just started. So I can't believe I am sat here in Florida with the worst storm ever right now, and you're sat in the
And
garden
I'm
in
sat here
England.
with sunshine.
It's still
Yeah,
like, oh, I haven't got my converter on, but it's still like 30 degrees. But it is there's going to be it's a hurricane that's come in, so we're just kind of preparing for that. So I do apologize if it's gone very dark very quickly. So I think it should be
no
okay
worries.
still. So what I wanted to talk about next, because I think we've bitched about being women for a little bit there. um, when you set up your business, when you set up the land, was it landscaping you did first, or was it the something else
Groundworks.
first?
They
You
were
did the
groundworks
groundwork
first.
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um.
when I came out of, I was in a small company again, another male-dominated industry, Land Rover chassis. So the company that I worked for was Land
Yes.
Rover chassis, and I came out of that because it was more of a conflict of pay. So a very, very small firm, like what we basically worked in, and getting minimum wage, doing more than what I should be doing. And it was a case of where I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere in the company, and not getting really the recognition that I was was basically just working towards more than anything. And it was a case of where Dion labourers used to let him down as a constant basis, and it was a case of where every now and again on a weekend he'd be like, "Will you just come and give me a hand?" Because he knew what I was like when he first were with me, so he knows that I'll get my hands dirty and stuff like that. And then it was a case where I'm unhappy in work. And it was a case of where, why are you even doing this? Why are you even doing this? I earn enough money to be able to do, to be able to just have a break, do something different, find something you enjoy. So I'm very, very fortunate to have my
Yeah.
partner like that as well. And it was a case of where I had a mini break, a couple of weeks, and it was a case of where, will you come and give me a hand? They've let me down again. And then it got to a point of where, right, we're doing this together. Do you want me to help in anything else? He says, well, want to go a bit more professional, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty much where it started. Um, so again, very, very difficult for males, men in general, getting it to a point of where you're not just not just a phone number, you're not just somebody, a man and a machine, which were what we called our business to start with. It was actually somebody at the end of the phone, a website, a Facebook page, advertising, customer relations, and stuff like that. I brought that to the table, pricing jobs up properly rather than turning up on day rates, which a lot of people like, well, especially nowadays with budgets and stuff. People didn't like you just turning up and going on day rates, which I find even now a lot of the companies that I work for work on a day rate basis rather than an actual price basis. Whereas we as a firm had a niche where we went in and priced it down to the T, which that was where I got my experience being a quite surveyor, and went from there. Basically, that's where we started.
That's exhausting. I feel like you need a minute just to, oh, I've done all this.
Yeah, it is. And I still this I think I enjoyed doing that, to be honest. I did enjoy actually pricing it up, and it might be a little bit money orientated, but it's a case of where getting what you deserve to make sure that you get paid at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
making sure that the client is getting quality for a, a fair price, and making sure that they were happy from start to finish. The satisfaction from you doing your job well, and somebody saying that were brilliant. From start to finish. I still have very good relations with a lot of my customers. We were landscaping for 9 years as a firm, and I ended up being invited to 3 weddings. And this was literally just a week's job or 2 weeks job, you know what I mean? And just getting to know the actual customers themselves and just enjoying the process of it and having somebody happy by the end of the actual job because
Yeah.
you've done your job well. And that's from the point of them ringing up, asking for a job to be done. And you imagine these people are, we're landscaping, we were all domestic, um, a few commercial, but mainly domestic. We're going into people's homes. You know what I mean? We're literally sitting down, having cups of teas. We're in and out of the gardens. They're pretty much living with us for weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So to make that experience enjoyable for them, and then them having an end product that they're happy with, that can actually which we've been informed that changed people's lives because it's like their outdoor space. As you can see, a lot more people in England are enjoying their outdoor space because it's the biggest room of somebody's home. So if you can get that not only at a good price but a good quality, that's where my job came into it. And I enjoyed every bit of that. So even though it seemed like a big process, you know, I mean, a lot of stuff to be able to be involved in, I enjoyed the end product. So I knew if I did it well, I was going to get a job satisfaction, which not many people get nowadays. I don't think many people get nowadays at all.
I understand that completely. On other news, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to go into construction or even just wants to run their own business?
I think the going into construction is have a bit of just ask around, question, you know what I mean? Just go and just basically get involved in it. You've got to be a type of person. If you don't like outdoors, if you can't get soggy or mucky or just enjoy being around people, quite big, strong-minded people, big, strong, you know what I mean, voices and stuff like that, then probably not for you. So the expectations of getting into construction has got to be there. But yeah, it's a hard one for me because again, I didn't just jump into it. It was a case of where
Yeah.
it pretty much fitted my personality to go into construction. The business side of it, just it, just be prepared, I think. Just basically try and be light-hearted. You're not going to get everything right. You're not going to be the best at everything. You're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes and stuff like that. Just go easy on yourself, learning something. It's like to be doing landscaping for 9 years, it's still a massive learning curve, especially in business. But just take your time, learn how to say no. It's a massive thing
Oh,
that
yes.
a lot of people in business don't say, and have confidence in your own ability. That's
Yeah.
basically it. And ask for help when you need it. You know what I mean? Ask
Yes.
for help. Get professionals involved.
I think two of those things, I think everything that you said then was very, very, very useful. The two things that really stood out for me is um, learn to say no and ask for
Hmm.
help. Simply because my dad has been saying he's going to retire for like 10 years. He's finally done it this year. And the reason why he hasn't is because he never said no to anyone. Anyone who said, "Hey, can you fit this job in?" Yeah, of course I can. "Hey, can you fit this job in?" I know you're retiring soon, but can you fit this job in? Yeah, of course I can. And
Hmm.
it's took a lot for him to stop. I know it has, but he has stopped, which is great. And the other thing, um, asking for help. People need to remember that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness,
No,
and too
not
many
even a
people
little bit.
think it is. Yeah, it's not a bad thing to ask for help. It's very, very good. Everyone should do it. If you don't ask for help, you don't learn, and I think that's
No.
very, very good.
You've got to think, I think, in society nowadays is not, it's so old forgetting in nowadays. back in the day. Um,
Mhm.
they had a lot more practical jobs. People were thrown into the job rather than learning it at university. There was actually apprenticeships. So you went on apprenticeships for years. You know what I mean? You weren't even allowed on tools half the time before
Yeah.
5 or 6 years and stuff like that. And there were a lot more basic jobs. You know, these jobs that we're doing now, the detail that you're having to go to, the materials that you're using are having to be, like you said, you have to be a scientist half of the time to figure out what's actually happening. So it's a lot. It is more difficult to learn these things. Half of the time, again, I was lucky for the company that we worked in, is the fact that I not only went to university, but I did the job as a practical thing as well. That was a massive thing for me. Um, but not many people think that. They think they're going to learn at college, they're going to learn at university. You're not going to learn there. You're going to learn when you get onto site. And unfortunately, you will.
It's like when you do your driving test. You
Of
don't learn
course, you
to
don't
drive until
really
you're
learn how to
actually
drive
out
until
of
you're
those
actually driving.
liners.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
good.
I
We're
think
good.
we've had a lot of labourers that expect to get paid a lot of money and not know anything and not learn anything. And I think because there's that many people that are getting stupid money for doing stuff that don't really take much training, they're not expecting a training wage. They're expecting a wage that will basically be the same as what the lads are doing, the actual job, who's taken them years to get to that point. I think we ended up the final wage of our labourer, and this is our labourer that he'd been working for us for 4 years, and he'd known a bit um, of what we do and stuff like that, and he could do it if Dion were there with him because of his confidence and stuff like that. We're £100 a day, but again, we still wouldn't be able to leave him on the job to do it himself. It was a case of where he still needed somebody there, so that it was a case of where he was still getting paid a very good amount of money, but was not skilled yet still. So this is
Yeah.
the thing, and lads are basically jumping into construction sites or basically going and getting a job and not expecting to be an apprentice. And you see the construction industry, they haven't really got time to be able to train people anymore. There's not enough money in jobs, so we basically go out there, we price the job up how long it's going to take, so the days that we've got, and the customer doesn't want to pay to train anybody up. They're not going to pay that kind of money. So basically, we never
No.
had time to be able to break off and go, this is how you do it. Um, Here, you have a go at it. Oh, you failed at that. Sorry, right. Let's take that up again and let's try again. Oh, sorry, you've not quite got that right again. Let's take that up and we'll do it again. There's never enough money in the job to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So even the training side is a massive thing. So we're going to really struggle, I think, in the next 10 to 15 years for good qualified labour. That's it because everybody's being pushed to go to college.
What do you think the answer is?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because more practical apprenticeships, you know what I mean? Rather than push somebody to stay at school until they're 18 or push them to just go straight to college and do a paper, you know what I mean, paper form, and then go to university and push that kind of agenda. It's no, go out, get a trade, you know what I mean? Go into a firm that have got that about them, learn how to do the actual work straight away rather than spending 6, 7, 8 years in a class-based, you know what I mean, scenario. Go out onto
Yeah.
the actual job, learn the job as you're doing it. You know what I mean? I think more successful people in university that go to university have had the experience role rather than just the classroom role and stuff like that. And I think you get a better quality of work out of somebody to be able to do that then because they've got the experience. I've worked alongside people that have just come out of university And I've worked alongside people that have been on the trade and the same age as the people that have been in university, and the difference in knowledge that they've got is unbelievable because
Yeah.
they're just reading it out of a book rather than actually seeing a practical, you know what I mean, environment.
Physically doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
no, that's what's needed. I'm gonna wrap up, but do you have any advice or any final thoughts that you want to make before I let you go or before I press stop?
It's just, it's one of them, isn't it? It's a case of where I think in life in general, just be a little bit heart, light-hearted. Um, just don't expect too much from yourself. Understand that people will be kind if you're kind. You know what I mean? It's a case of where if you go in with a I have no idea what I'm doing attitude, rather than a I want to learn attitude, people will see that you wanting to learn rather than I don't know what to do, don't expect anything from me kind of attitude towards anything in life. You'll learn a lot more because people do want to teach you. People do
Yeah.
want to share their experience. They want to share their own knowledge, because it's a boost for them as well. I found that the most knowledge I've got is from people just really enjoying telling me about what they do. You know what I mean? What they do as a job, as a qualification, as a skill. They love basically passing that information on. And especially you've got your 50, 60 year olds and stuff like that, your 40, 50, 60 year olds that have been in the job and they appreciate the fact that you're actually even asking, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
their advice on things. Um, yeah, it's just don't expect too much from yourself. You know what I mean? Be easy on yourself. Nobody's going to get everything right straight away. Um, things take time. You know what I mean? Things take time. I think it's a real rushed society nowadays. Everybody wants it all now, and they want everything now. You know, that kind of thing. It's and don't really want to do much for it. It's the hard work that they don't see. Don't really want much, don't want to do anything for it and hard work
Yeah.
kind of thing. They don't see the hard work behind the success kind of thing. It's like we put it out there. Everybody knows how hard we're working and stuff like that. So I think when people see what we're doing, they're like, yeah, I can see that because the blooming 24-hour blooming landscaping services, 24-hour blooming delivery services and stuff, so they can see where it's coming from. But a lot of people take that for granted. They definitely take that for granted,
Yeah.
that there is going to be hard days. There's going to be days where you just, yesterday, for example, I got back 6 o'clock and I just laid on the floor because I was just done with the heat, done with the week. You know what I mean? I had another day to do, so I've worked today. And it was just a case of where, I just need just to just shut off and just lay down and breathe, not speak to anybody or do anything. Just give yourself time to have that back step. I think life's a big rush nowadays, and nobody gives themselves time just to sit back and just go recoup. You know, give myself a
Yeah.
chance to refresh my mind. And I think after the time, once you are well, re-energized, you do everything a lot better and you're a
Yeah.
lot clearer in what you need to do next. And that's it.
I agree with
I
that.
don't think, yeah, I don't think there's, because everybody does everything differently. Everybody has different experience. Everybody's got different personalities. They've got different ways of dealing with, the struggles of being in any kind of environment in work, especially work, because it takes you away from your home. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just learning how to be able to just breathe. That's it. And it's not going to turn up on your doorstep from day one. It's going to take time.
Yeah. No, I can definitely agree with that one.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm sorry that the weather's been crazy and
Oh,
everything's
I'm
been all
enjoying
over.
it.
Oh, you would. Until next time, thank you everyone for listening, and we will be back soon.